Hello, welcome. Day 65. If this is your first time here, my name is And the Wren, and this is a series that I'm doing where I'm kind of documenting my process of practicing art and growing as an artist. I've noticed on YouTube there's a lot of content for teaching different aspects of academic art, like let's say you want to learn figure drawing or portrait drawing or even specific elements within that, but not a lot that's kind of documenting or showing the whole process of how to practice, how to learn, how to train. So the idea is that we can kind of grow together a little bit. And so we're on day 65, and it's actually New Year's Eve. So you would think that, oh, New Year's Eve, this is a special day. We're not going to draw today. This is a holiday. Every day we draw, every day. And I'm actually currently, for those that have kind of been following along, I travel a lot in my personal life, and I'm actually currently in Italy right now. And even though it's December 31, it is beautiful outside. It must be like 60 degrees Fahrenheit, 16, 17 degrees Celsius. So I figured I would film this outside actually, and kind of have this beautiful background behind me. And it's also kind of fitting because I have something really important that I want to talk about that I think everybody in the art community has thought about at one point or another. And I thought it would be nice to kind of share my perspective. And so I'm going to start that dialogue in a minute. Just quickly before I do that, though, as this is playing, you can see there's kind of a time lapse that's going beside me. And so the day's practice was another mannequinization drawing. And so if you've been following along the last couple of days, I've kind of had to go back a little bit to fundamentals of figure drawing, which is this idea of like mannequinization. Um, and I've been practicing this like pretty steadfastly. So I think this is probably the fourth or fifth drawing like this I've done. And rather than just continue to talk about, if you're curious more about mannequinization and more about my process there, I recommend just going back like the last 3 days, and you can kind of see me talk in detail about the different aspects there. But as far as today and what I want to talk about while this kind of time lapse is playing, is something I think, yeah, a little more personal and a little more interesting. And it's a nice thing to think about as we come to the end of the year, as we come to the new year, which, if you've seen in the title, is this idea of how much of art is about being a talented artist and how much about art is actually the work and effort that you put in. Um, and so I'm going to start just giving my opinion with some very strong statements. So for me personally, in my opinion, very, very, very little of any artistic endeavor, whether it be, it could be in the graphic arts like we're doing here, it could be in music, it could be in even something like culinary arts like cooking, very, very, very little of it is from this idea of talent or this innate talent. Which I think is so interesting because the instinct of society is kind of like when you see somebody that's good in one of these endeavors, you say to them, "Oh, you're so talented." And I hear people saying that to me sometimes, and I say that to other people. I fall into this trap too, and I always can't help but think, "Oh man, I feel like the talent part of it is so little. There's such a little piece of that." To me, it's probably 90% about the effort and the work that you put in, and only about 10% talent. Um, and I think my evidence for this that I'll use is I'll just show right now on the screen some drawings that I did, which this drawing that I'm going to show is from 2017. So this is almost 5, 6 years ago now. And then a painting that I did 5 or 6 years ago, and then a painting that I just completed recently. Um, and I'm the same person. So this like same level of, quote unquote talent that would have lived within me in either of these two periods are the exact same. It's the exact same person. So what is the difference between the dramatic difference between the 2017 drawing and the 2023 version? Um, and the only explanation there, I didn't get any more talented, I would say, right? The only explanation there is the work that I've put in. Um, and I think there's another piece of this too, that even if you don't agree with me that it's 90-10, even if it's, let's say, you think it's even closer to like something like 50-50, like 50% innate talent of an artist versus 50% hard work, I think that still creates a bias in people to kind of underestimate the value of work. Even if you believe in that 50-50 split, 50% is a lot, is a large number. That's like a big chunk of the pie. That's half of it. So even if you think that they carry equal weight, there's still so much that can be done with hard work and practice and consistent work. Um, and I think that's really kind of what this series is about. So, right now I've done 64 days or 65 days of daily drawings. And I've been doing daily artwork, I would say now, for probably the last 3 years consistently, like daily. And I've been trying to grow as an artist since 2017, actually. So for about 6 years or so, I've been really trying to grow. One of the things that I'm curious to even look at is in this 100-day period, if I go back and redo some of the drawings that I did on those first days, and then we'll redo them at day 100, and then maybe like every 100 days or something like that, we can redo them, and we can even see in real time how much benefit you get from work. I really think that in this discussion, the amount that work comes into play is so underestimated. I just think there's like a level that you get to that requires the hard work. Um, and so I had a couple pieces of evidence. So the first one is just using myself as an example, seeing how much progress is made in this period. But I have another piece of evidence, which is that if you're trying to be a figure artist and you're trying to draw figurative art at a high level, one of the things that you have to do is study anatomy. And we've observed that a little bit. And actually in January, we're going to do anatomy month. So I'm going to just do 1 month of straight anatomy drawings every single day. And anatomy is something that is absolutely divorced from talent. It has nothing to do with it. Nobody can look at the human body and be like, yes, I innately have a talent of understanding where the muscles are. I mean, okay, maybe on like some level, but that's not a real like innate ability of somebody. So it's something that you have to learn. It's something that has to be done through hard work, through effort, through time, through commitment. And so automatically there's a piece of figure drawing that just can't come from talent. Now, I think like, where talent can come into play is helping you understand, like you can have a talent of understanding what you need to learn, like where your gaps are. Maybe you have like just like an innate like taste, let's say, where you can kind of look at a drawing and be like, okay, I understand why this is good, and then transfer those qualities into your drawing. But these are superficial things that kind of happen after you already have a basic understanding of things like mannequinization, things like anatomy, things like gesture, things like posing, things like proportions, and talent can help you a little bit in each of these aspects. But even if you're super talented in one of these areas, you still are going to need to study and put effort into the other areas. And so, that would be my third piece of evidence, is that even if you're super talented in one area, the likelihood that you're talented in every piece, like when you think about how much, if you want to create a figure painting, you have so many different elements there. You have all the elements of painting, which includes all the fundamental elements of art. So things like line, color, paint, like the brush quality, the brush strokes. Then you have things like composition that come into play. Then you have all the aspects of the figure that I just named, those 5-6 things that come into play with the figure. You have to have like good understanding of light. You have to have good understanding about design on some level, like am I just designing my shapes well and things like that. So many different elements that even if you're born with talent, the odds or the chances that you're talented in all those areas, it just becomes ridiculous. Like it's just it might exist in one person out of 7 billion, but for the rest of us, there's areas where we're probably more talented, and then areas where we have to put in hard work. And to me, that really makes up, in my opinion, as I said, about 90% of it. And really only 10% of it comes down to talent. So, I think I've kind of made my point clear. I'm curious what you think. If you want to argue with me a little bit, go ahead and post a comment or something like that, and we can open a discussion. But I thought I would share my opinion, and I think that my opinion also kind of shows a little bit my philosophy and why I think it's so important to practice consistently and practice daily. Because to me, that's really where all of the skill of art comes in, is in this consistent daily practice. So I hope at minimum, I've provoked some thought or had you wrestle with some of these ideas. And at best, I hope that I motivated you to draw today. But if not, regardless, I will see you here tomorrow for day 66.